Revenge of the Sith contains many pivotal moments in Star Wars history. The first one happened in the opening minutes when Anakin killed Count Dooku, and the next one came when Obi-Wan Kenobi fought and killed General Grievous. The Jedi thought that those events had given them an upper hand, so they began to move forward with their war efforts. That's when Anakin discovered that Chancellor Palpatine was a Sith, and Master Windu acted. He tried to arrest Palpatine, and although he defeated the Sith Lord, he failed his mission. Darth Vader was born, and Order 66 was executed. However, none of that is more pivotal than the duel between Palpatine and Yoda. Even with all of the atrocities that Palpatine had committed, Yoda had a chance to make everything right. Order 66 was awful, but if Yoda could have killed Palpatine before he built up his empire, the Republic could have rebounded and rebuilt. However, their duel ended with Yoda in exile and Palpatine as Emperor. Naturally, that's led many Star Wars fans to believe that Yoda lost the fight, but that's actually not what happened. Here's why Yoda could have killed Palpatine and why he chose not to. The air was cool around Yoda as he paused just outside of Palpatine's Senate office. If Master Windu was around, he might have called it a Shatterpoint moment, but Yoda didn't need a special force ability to know that he was walking toward his destiny. Almost 900 years of preparation, meditation, and training had led him to this moment. The elusive Sith Master that he'd been hunting for years had finally revealed himself, and it was time for Yoda to fight back. The Grand Master had failed to protect the Jedi Order, but he could still avenge it. So Yoda readied every bit of light side energy that he could, took the fateful steps into the office, and prepared himself for the fight of his life. As he entered the office, he felt a pair of royal guards raise their force pikes toward him, but a quick wave of his hand flattened the overrated bodyguards. That left Yoda one-on-one with Palpatine. It was the fight of the millennium, as the Avatar of the Light took on the embodiment of the dark side. The winner would emerge with the ability to shape the galaxy, and the loser would leave in a battered, broken, and lightsaber-scarred heap. Palpatine made the first move with his Sith lightning, and the speed of the attack caught Yoda off guard. The energy caught him full in the chest and sent him flying backwards, but he was soon on his feet, launching his own version of telekinetic energy. The burst sent Palpatine reeling, and he even tried to flee the office. In that moment, Yoda felt one with the Force. He was going to win this fight and atone for his mistakes as Grand Master. However, Palpatine wasn't finished. When Yoda cornered him, he pulled out a blood-red lightsaber and proceeded to show his dueling prowess. And before long, they were crossing blades in the Senate arena. That storied political venue was used to housing rhetorical duels, but it had never seen two combatants at such odds. Yoda's light pierced through Palpatine's darkness as both figures exerted an otherworldly amount of force energy. That's where the real analysis can begin, and the reason is that Yoda and Palpatine's duel isn't shown in full. It's spliced in between Obi-Wan and Anakin's fight on Mustafar. The point was to show how the two confrontations were happening at the same time. However, that editing design left out a crucial point in the Yoda and Palpatine fight. Viewers saw the beginning of their fight and how they started dueling atop Palpatine's Senate platform. Then the camera cuts away to the Obi-Wan and Anakin fight. The next time that fans see Yoda and Palpatine, the Sith Lord doesn't have his lightsaber. While that may not seem significant, it is. It means that Yoda won their lightsaber duel. Maybe he sliced the Sith's weapon in two, or maybe he had sent it careening into the depths of the Senate arena. But in one way or another, he had disarmed Palpatine and proved himself as the better duelist. Granted, Palpatine despised lightsabers and only used them as a way to mock the Jedi, but he was supposed to be a master of all 7 fighting forms, so Yoda must have used everything he had in order to win. It's just a shame that fans didn't get to see that crucial moment on screen. Even after Palpatine lost his lightsaber, things were far from over. He started relying on his Force abilities, and Yoda had to try and measure up. Fans still remember the Senate pods hurtling through the air as the two of them tried to crush each other to a pulp. But that went nowhere, and it wasn't long before Yoda and Palpatine were face to face once again. The evil Sith let out a massive burst of lightning, and Yoda began to absorb it with his Tuta Menace skills. Yet the energy was too much to contain. They both realized their mistake at the same moment as the Force energy exploded, sending them both flying backwards. Because Yoda was the smaller figure, he went back farther and ended up falling to the floor of the Senate arena. That's when Yoda realized that there was a major problem. Since the beginning of the Clone Wars, Yoda had spent his time preparing the Jedi for a physical fight with their adversaries. But in reality, that was exactly what Palpatine wanted. He needed the Jedi to embrace warfare, killing, and forcible conquest. Unfortunately, the whole thing was tragically ironic. The Jedi were supposed to be keepers of the peace, but they could only enforce peace by becoming more and more warlike. Suddenly, it all made sense. He had fallen into Palpatine's trap, and he had led the entire Jedi Order with him. He had allowed Palpatine to ruin the Jedi's name throughout the galaxy. Even then, he had entered Palpatine's office with the intent to kill the evil Sith Lord. Matthew Stover's Revenge of the Sith novelization puts it best. The new Sith could not be destroyed with a lightsaber. They could not be burned away by any torch of the Force. The brighter his light, the darker their shadow. How could he win a war against the dark when war itself had become the dark's own weapon? He knew at that instant that this insight held the hope of the galaxy. But if he fell here, that hope would die with him. So let's back up and look at all of this evidence. Yoda had won the lightsaber duel with Palpatine, and he had stalemated the Sith's Force abilities. As he collected himself on the floor of the Senate arena, Yoda could have re-entered the fight, and odds are he could have killed Palpatine, especially if he tapped into his inner dark side. But that's not what Yoda chose to do. The novelization just indicated warfare was the Jedi's biggest enemy, and in turn, that meant that Palpatine, as evil as he was, wasn't Yoda's biggest enemy. If Yoda had stayed around and continued to fight Palpatine, things would have gone downhill. Either he would have died and left Obi-Wan alone, or he would have killed Palpatine. But that would have taken even more time that he didn't have. Commander Fox's shock troopers were on the way, and even if he would have killed Palpatine, it would have ended badly. The troopers would have killed him, or maybe they would have captured him. Regardless, he wouldn't have been able to explain attacking or assassinating the newly appointed Emperor. That would have helped destroy the Jedi's reputation, which was all part of Palpatine's plan. So Yoda decided to do the smart thing. Even though he probably could have defeated Palpatine, he decided to retreat. He had to live, even if it meant that Palpatine won the day. Because if Yoda died, hope would have died with him. And besides, he had to make sure that he had a chance to improve his legacy and correct his teachings. That's why he taught Luke that wars not make one great. And Luke applied Yoda's lessons when he tossed his lightsaber away when he faced off with Emperor Palpatine in Return of the Jedi. All that to say, Yoda didn't flee from Palpatine because he was totally outmatched. He did it because he needed to preserve hope and correct his warmongering mistakes. But what do you think? Could Yoda have killed Emperor Palpatine? Or would the Sith Lord have finished him off in the end? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Star Wars content, and I'll see you in the next video.